02-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
Coach Brown is our guest. Coach Rule, give us your synopsis.
I look at Coach Rule, and there's a lot of things I like about him, man. And he has great respect for Coach Osborne. That's what I like. I think I really like his humility. He listens to people. He learns from other people still, and he's got remarkable intelligence, I think. I think he's got a really high level of intelligence. He's coached every position, and he's a great teacher to go along with it. I think the best teachers are the best learners.
Today, we discuss Miro.
Hotels and
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Big Ten Show presented by the Believe Network. Thank you for tuning in on Bally Sports. Happy holidays. I'm joined by Nebraska Cornhusker legend and former NFL defensive lineman Adam Carriker. You can catch the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln, Nebraska. Also, be sure to check out the Carriker Chronicles on YouTube and from Believe Network, State of State, a Penn State football podcast. I'm Tom Hannafin. Lots happening in the Big Ten right now, Adam, as we get set for bowl season to really get underway, and, of course, the college football playoff. But I'm not even being biased here. We have to start with what in the world is going on in Lincoln, Nebraska. The transfer portal's open, and it seems like head coach Matt Rule might pull off the heist of the century with one of the most highly touted quarterback recruits in recent memory in Dylan Raiola. For those that don't know, can you kind of walk us through what is going on there in Husker territory?
I mean, it's exciting times. If you're a Husker fan, they're talking to Kyle McCord from Ohio State. They're starting quarterback, former 5-star recruit, about potentially coming to Lincoln. It seems like it's all but a done deal, but until things are announced, I never completely buy it, but that's what I'm hearing. Dylan Raiola was a guy who was originally committed to Ohio State, then he flipped to Georgia. He's got family connections to Nebraska. His dad, Dominic, was an All-American center here, okay? Remington Award winner. His uncle, Donovan, is the offensive line coach here who just got a one-year contract extension, a 53% raise. So people seem to be happy with him.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Big Ten Show presented by the Believe Network. Thank you for tuning in on Bally Sports. Happy holidays. I'm joined by Nebraska Cornhusker legend and former NFL defensive lineman Adam Carriker. You can catch the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln, Nebraska. Also, be sure to check out the Carriker Chronicles on YouTube and from Believe Network, State of State, a Penn State football podcast. I'm Tom Hannafin. Lots happening in the Big Ten right now, Adam, as we get set for bowl season to really get underway, and, of course, the college football playoff. But I'm not even being biased here. We have to start with what in the world is going on in Lincoln, Nebraska. The transfer portal's open, and it seems like head coach Matt Rule might pull off the heist of the century with one of the most highly touted quarterback recruits in recent memory in Dylan Raiola. For those that don't know, can you kind of walk us through what is going on there in Husker territory?
I mean, it's exciting times. If you're a Husker fan, they're talking to Kyle McCord from Ohio State. They're starting quarterback, former 5-star recruit, about potentially coming to Lincoln. It seems like it's all but a done deal, but until things are announced, I never completely buy it, but that's what I'm hearing. Dylan Raiola was a guy who was originally committed to Ohio State, then he flipped to Georgia. He's got family connections to Nebraska. His dad, Dominic, was an All-American center here, okay? Remington Award winner. His uncle, Donovan, is the offensive line coach here who just got a one-year contract extension, a 53% raise. So people seem to be happy with him. So he's got all sorts of family connections. And even after he not only committed to Georgia, they moved to Buford, Georgia, to be closer to Athens, only an hour away. But he still showed up at a Husker basketball game last winter. He still showed up at a Husker football game this fall. Nobody thought anything of it because he's got family connections. He's committed to Georgia. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, he might be coming to Nebraska. Matt Rule, it was a tough season, tough first season. It was tumultuous, up and down, a lot of improvement on the defense, better run game, not great quarterback play, which cost you a lot of games you realistically could have won with a not-so-tough schedule. So there's been a lot of scrutiny. At the same time, the dude's built programs. And I think he learned from his time in Carolina that sometimes you got to put a little bit of accelerant on it because he wants to be patient. He's willing to absorb some early losses for the long-term benefit of the program, but he's readily admitted maybe he should have gotten another free agent or two in Carolina. And I think he looks at a guy like Dylan Raiola. He looks at a guy like Kyle McCord, Julian Fleming, a former 5-star wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver in 2020, who could potentially be coming from Ohio State, as a little bit of college free agency, NIL transfer portal, and maybe a little bit of that accelerant he's thinking about. And he's doing a great job, at least getting us in the conversation to begin with.
That accelerant is necessary considering the way the Big Ten is going to expand next year, the arrival of now former Pac-12 teams, USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. You either keep up or you're out. That's the challenging thing. And I was really encouraged to see how Nebraska nearly pulled off bowl eligibility this season. They nearly knocked off the Big Ten West champions, Iowa, to get themselves into bowl contention. It just didn't play out that way in the final moments there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I also point towards the quarterback Sims, the transfer from Georgia Tech, what could have been there. So it's not that Matt Rule's made bad moves. It's just not worked out in season 1. But Matt Rule's also been one of the most outspoken people in regard to what the transfer portal is, how to work it, how much people are valued at. What do you think Matt Rule knows that has him ahead of the curve right now? It seems like he is.
I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's a grinder. I think he's willing to put in those hours, that time. Every college football coach may or may not see their family on a particular day in a particular time of year. That's just part of the gig. I've seen several coaches who've slept and spent nights on the couch, especially in season. So I'm not saying other coaches aren't working hard. I think Matt Rule's willing to do those even extra beyond little things. And he's kind of like, what was it? Somebody told me the other day, he's like, he's just kind of sees those little things, and I would never want to play poker with him. And I was like, wow, that was a great analogy. I don't want to play poker with him either. I like my money. So anyways, I think he just sees things a little bit differently. I think that's why he was able to kind of turn around a really bad Temple program at the time, a Baylor program that was down in the dumps beyond almost belief. And a couple years later, they were a top 10 program, 11-1 record, and then he goes to Carolina. So I think he's able to see those little things, and I think he's able to recognize the things that, hey, this is what worked for me in the past. This is what didn't, and this is what I need to take advantage of right now.
Coming back to the possible recruits, transfers, do you see any potential issue in that Kyle McCord is interested in going to Nebraska, has been courted by Nebraska, but now Dylan Raiola is in the mix? Could McCord maybe back out, or is he, I hate to say it, but is he a bridge quarterback?
I'd be surprised. I haven't spoken to him directly. I'd be surprised if he backs out. I mean, he's an upperclassman. You know, it's almost perfect because Dylan can come here if this all comes to fruition. And I'll be honest with you, I'm big on competition. All right, you guys are here, but you still got to earn it. There's a guy named Daniel Kalen who's committed to come to Nebraska. Chuba Purdy looked good at the end of the year. I don't know if we'll get all these guys in a room, and if we do, will they all stay? I don't know. But you got to earn it. But beyond that, McCord is really a great, efficient, game-managing type quarterback. And had we had that a year ago, we probably have 7 or 8 wins. 5 one-loss games. 5 one-loss games, and we led the nation in turnovers. A majority of those came from the quarterback position. So I think he's perfect for what we're looking for now. Ohio State fans are looking for someone who's going to push the ball down the field more, going to take a game over more. That's not necessarily who he is, and that's okay, and that fits at Nebraska if it works out. And then it's almost perfect whether it's Daniel Kalen, Chuba Purdy, or Dylan Raiola that's in that 2 spot behind him. You get a year, you get some time to learn, and then the job could potentially be yours. So I don't think it affects Kyle. I think what Dylan does affects Daniel Kalen. And I won't go into that whole thing, but basically as soon as Dylan committed to Georgia, Rule called him, he flipped to Nebraska, and he's basically peer recruited half this class. So I think, I hope people appreciate what he's done, but I think that's kind of more the dominoes that might be affected there.
Things are really starting to heat up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I don't know if a lot of people expected that in December of 2023, but so much can play out. In the process of talking about the transfer portal and what Nebraska is up to, we're kind of touching on what's going on with Ohio State, and they are heading into a bowl game against Mizzou. Obviously, some guys that have hopped in the transfer portal, a la starting quarterback Kyle McCord, 2 running backs in Evan Pryor. Chip Trainum is off to Kentucky. Meanwhile, Julian Fleming, as you mentioned, is at play in the transfer portal. Are you concerned at all about Ohio State in 2024 under Ryan Day?
If you had asked me about the bowl game, yes. I don't know if anybody cares about bowl games, and that's sad to begin with.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The bowl game, I'm actually pretty concerned, but beyond that, no. I do think they had a quarterback battle. They didn't even, Kyle McCord wasn't even the designated starter until about game 3 or 4. So they've got other people in that room who are capable of taking over the job. I do think it would behoove them to try to find somebody from the transfer portal. Okay. I think for me, it's one of those things where Ryan Day has recruited so well. They're constantly in the top 2, top 3. Bama, Georgia, Ohio State are typically in the top 3. Then Texas will pop up. Florida State will pop up. All right, Colorado's got the number 1 transfer portal class right now. But they've got talent. Now, football players don't just grow on trees. But when you keep recruiting as many talented guys as you have, I think they're going to be all right. The biggest thing is they do need to make sure they've got a solid QB1 next year.
Devin Brown was pushing Kyle McCord. If anything, they were neck and neck through most of camp. So if it is Devin Brown, that's one thing. Names like Cam Ward have been out there, transfer portal quarterback from Washington State, also Dante Moore from UCLA. So a lot can happen there for the Buckeyes. Speaking of the Buckeyes and within the Believe Network, shout out to our friends on the Believe in Buckeyes podcast, Bryant Browning and Chimdy Checkwell. Recently were joined by former Ohio State head coach, now Fox broadcaster, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is always good about hot takes. I don't even know if this was necessarily a hot take, and it's outside of the Big Ten, but I think it's a worthy discussion, is the conversation surrounding transfer portal quarterbacks specifically. They were talking about what's going on at Notre Dame. Last year, they got Sam Hartman from Wake Forest. That had positive results. Obviously, the program feels all warm and fuzzy about Sam Hartman, but it didn't turn into this magnanimous season. Now they've got Riley Leonard, a transfer from Duke. At one point was a Heisman hopeful this year before getting injured. And the point was raised by Urban Meyer is that, are you just going to keep relying on transfers, or are you going to get your own quarterbacks in there, and are you going to develop them? Do you think either way is plausible at this point in time if things change that much?
So Urban, his opinion in that interview is what I would have thought. It's you need transfer portal guys to come in sometimes. Sometimes you need an immediate impact player. Sometimes you need depth, whatever the case may be. Kind of like a free agent sort of in the NFL, so to speak. Not exactly the same, but kind of sort of. But I would prefer to bring in my own guys, develop them, okay, and kind of train them. But that's not how college football has worked. Joe Burrow, Heisman Trophy winner, transfer. Jalen Hurts went to New York, transfer. You look at Baker Mayfield, transfer. You look at this year, Bo Nix, transfer. Michael Penix Jr., transfer. Jaden Williams.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. I knew that wasn't right. LSU, Heisman Trophy winner, transfer. And I'm just like, I agree with Urban, but no matter how much I want it to equal 5, 2 + 2 = 4, and transfer quarterbacks are doing just fine. So I agree with him, but that's not what the facts are bearing out. And so for me, if it's working, because here's the other risk you take. And Matt Rule even talked about this in his end of season press conference, because he talked about a transfer portal quarterback might cost you anywhere from $1 to $2 million. But he talked about you recruit a high school kid, you grow him, you develop him, and then he plays well, and then somebody else offers him a buku of money and he's gone. Because that's the other thing you run into. What if you spend all this time on a kid and then he goes somewhere else? So it's kind of a catch-22. And as much as I'd like to agree with Urban, and he knows way more about football than I do, I don't know that I do. But I think he recognizes what's actually happening in college football too, because he even pointed out, look at all these quarterbacks that are transfers.
A part of his conversation was specifically talking about seniors where this is their last year of eligibility. And we've been boggled by that entire situation with COVID and extra years, redshirt senior plus. It's complicated to see who has eligibility or not.
Yep.
But still, getting Sam Hartman in for a rental for 1 year, he's out. Riley Leonard, you get him in. So you see how it goes. But the quarterbacks you mentioned, Nix, Penix, Daniels, got multiple years within their new program, got a chance to be developed all over again, had a chance to learn a new program. I think that's a plausible model. It's obviously been proven, but I do have to agree with Urban Meyer. And I think a specific point that he was also trying to make, and I wonder what you think about this, is that, is there a problem at Notre Dame in regard to recruiting quarterbacks? And do Marcus Freeman and company have a deficiency in developing quarterbacks?
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest, quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 7th and Van Doren. God bless you.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Don't forget to stop by the Rail Yard Rink, now open in downtown Lincoln. The Rail Yard Rink is proudly presented by the Lincoln Stars and is in operation until mid-February. You're bound to make great winter memories ice skating in the heart of the capital city. Lincoln Stars players will be making appearances at the Rail Yard Rink throughout the winter months to meet and greet with fans. For a full schedule of the Rail Yard Rink, please visit LincolnStars.com and click on the Rail Yard Rink drop-down option on the Community tab.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
New year, new career. The new year is just around the corner. Why not start it off strong with a new career? General Excavating is looking for qualified underground utility project managers. Check out our website, generalexcavating.com, or call 402-467-1627 for more information. Happy holidays from General Excavating.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top shelf liquor to crowd favorite beer, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, some patchy fog expected this morning, and we'll see mainly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. Afternoon high should top out around 35. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies with a low around 23. And tomorrow, mostly sunny skies return. We'll see a high around 37. I'm meteorologist Kyle Clicker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I think if you can, and I don't want to label them as this, but it's what's coming in my head, so it's what I'll say. If you have to keep doing one-year rentals at quarterbacks, then the answer is yes. You need to be better about recruiting, developing, and I think you made a great point. Almost every quarterback that we've talked about that went on to be a Heisman Trophy winner or finalist, they weren't just there for a year. That first year is such a learning curve, especially a quarterback. By the time year 2 rolls around, you're coming back. You know what the coach wants. You know the expectation. You know the offense. You know the motion. You know snap count. You know every single little read. And now you're just getting better and better and better and faster at it. I watched Joe Burrow his junior year at LSU. He was above average, but not great. I wouldn't even call him very good. Then all of a sudden, he's one of the best college football quarterbacks we've ever seen just a year later. So I think that year 2 jump, it's almost like year 2 under a new head coach tends to be a good jump. And then year 3 is even a bigger jump. So I do think there's something to be said for bringing in a guy who's got at least 2 years, if not more, but at least 2 years to spend with you.
Speaking of players that you can wrangle in the transfer portal, something my co-host Justin King and I have talked a lot about on State of State, a Penn State football podcast, is the concept of win share probability in regards to the specific positions that you can get in the transfer portal. Now, no disrespect to certain positions, but if you go get, I don't know, a middle linebacker, is he really going to win you ball games? Is he going to win you multiple ball games? The truth of the matter, much like the NFL, is that quarterbacks, pass rushers, and offensive tackles are the most coveted positions, especially this year and historically, in the transfer portal. So you have to look at some of these guys, tackles, pass rushers, you know what that game is all about. Can they really make a difference? And when you look at the transfer portal right now, how many program-changing difference makers exist right now?
It's funny because I've always said, and college football is becoming obviously way more and more like the NFL every day. Okay. And so I've always said in the NFL, it's guys who throw the ball, guys who get after the guys who throw the ball, and the guys who protect the guys who throw the ball. Those are the most coveted players. And every once in a while, there's a DB. Okay. If you have a lockdown DB, that can change things as well. You look at, I think Cam Ward is a guy wherever he goes. And I know he's kind of projected right now, probably towards Miami a little bit more. Wherever he goes, he's a difference maker. And one of my favorite things about him is he wasn't even highly recruited coming out of high school. Like, he is pretty much self-made throughout college. So I love a kid like that even more. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. I just call him Princely U. Okay, the edge rusher from Florida. He's the top edge pass rusher in the entire transfer portal, number 3 overall player. Okay, I know he took a visit to Ole Miss Monday. I know that Nebraska is still on the table. And there's probably about one other school that's still on the table. But whoever can get a guy like that is going to get an immediate impact player. I mean, Pro Football Focus actually rated him the top defensive player on Florida's defense last year. Okay, so guys like that. And I know Walter Nolan, he was the number 1 recruit in the country coming out of high school, D tackle at A&M. Now he's the number 1 player in the transfer portal. If you go by best player, he probably is the best player. You go by biggest impact, I'm going to look more towards quarterbacks and edge rushers, kind of like we talked about, just because they impact the game a little bit more, just like you said.
And then I'm sure we could go on and on about the fluctuation between the pass rusher concept at defensive tackle versus defensive end, but that's for another day. Let's project ahead to the college football playoff. The controversy surrounding Florida State seems to be in our rearview window as long as you live outside of the state of Florida. It sounds like a number of lawsuits have been filed. The governor of Florida has gotten involved. Obviously, Seminole fans are pretty ticked off. But what we have is Washington versus Texas and Michigan versus Alabama. How do you feel about that Final Four?
So my son's tackle football team just went down to Florida, played in nationals, and then he's off to high school next year. When we were in Orlando, first of all, I didn't know there were so many Florida State Seminole fans in Orlando. It must be a lot closer to Tallahassee than I realized. I saw 0 Hurricanes, 0 Gators, like hats and shirts walking around, but no less than like 50 Florida State. Maybe it's just people are mad and they were showing their support. So people in Florida are definitely up in arms, at least in Orlando and Tallahassee for sure. I mean, Florida State should have been in. We don't have to belabor this. Florida State should have been in because I don't like to project what I think is going to happen in the game. I have to go off what actually has happened in front of me. Otherwise, why do we play the freaking games? Here's the other thing that doesn't make any sense to me. How does Liberty jump SMU? Liberty's undefeated. SMU has 2 losses, but beats Tulane, who was the highest ranked group of 5 team, would have been in. They're the AAC champion, not to be confused with the ACC. But yet Liberty jumps them, and the committee's reasoning was, well, Liberty won all their games. What? Where was that with FSU? Like 2 + 2 has to equal 4, people. I'm just saying. I'm going to come back to that. So for me, and then I even looked at strength of schedule. SMU wasn't off the charts, but strength of schedule, Liberty was 132. So, and they're the #1 rushing offense in the country, the only team to average over 300 yards rushing a game. So we'll see what happens. It'll be exciting, but you got to use the same logic to Florida State. Now you move to the teams that are actually in. Now, I'm that guy. There's always a silver lining. I don't care how dark the cloud is. There's always a silver lining. You just got to look for it. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's not. Here's the silver lining. Man, Florida State would have been such a huge underdog. And I don't know that it would have gone well. I would have taken that out of the equation as far if I were a CFP voter. But now that we've got these 4 teams, I think it's actually the 4 best teams. And they may be 2 of the best college football playoff games we've ever had. Bama and Michigan's going to be neck and neck. I think Washington's a little underrated. I see why Texas, the trenches, the O-line, the D-line, they have the advantage over every team, or maybe Michigan's O-line in the trenches, and that's in the CFP. So I think it's going to be 2 great games. I think it's going to be fun to watch, and that's the silver lining is it is probably the 4 best teams, maybe not the 4 most deserving.
I don't want to get like final scores from you or even a national champion, but who do you think winds up in the national championship game?
I'm going to go with Michigan over Bama. I watched that Bama-Auburn game. What a miracle play, but they found a way to make it. Then they go out and they beat Georgia, 2-time national champs, hadn't lost in what, almost 2 years or 2.5 years, okay? Beat the #1 team in the country. I think it's going to come down to Michigan has not really faced a mobile quarterback all year. Bama's quarterback, maybe the most improved player in the entire country. He was struggling early on. I'm like, they're going to have 3 losses this year. The worst team that Saban had since about 2000, I think 11 or 12, they had 3 losses. Okay, the only time ever. And then he's got better and better and better, but his legs are something that Michigan hasn't seen all year. And then the offensive line for Bama was really bad at the beginning of the year, especially when they got exposed versus Texas. It's how do they do in the trenches versus Michigan? And can Michigan's defense keep containment on Alabama's quarterback? With Texas and Washington, Texas has the advantage in the trenches. They look like a national championship type team. In my opinion, Washington gets overlooked. Their players aren't as highly recruited, so they're not as flashy. You know, we weren't talking about them on signing day or transfer portal day. So all of a sudden, here's this undefeated team from what was probably the best conference in America this year, and they just found a way to win game after game and beat Oregon twice somehow. I'm going to go with Washington. Even though I'm surprised myself, I'm going to go with Washington because I'm looking at what they've done, and they just find a way to keep winning against ranked team after ranked team after ranked team. So I got Washington, and I got Michigan, and I know I went with the 2 higher ranked teams. So no surprise there.
I am genuinely surprised to hear you pick Washington over Texas, but I could see that game honestly going either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the offensive capability of both teams, this has the potential to be a shootout. But yeah, I just don't know. To the point you were saying about Texas, they're great in the trenches. Washington reminds me a lot of the teams that Kyle Whittingham has fielded at Utah. I'd say more circa 2022 than anything out of respect to what happened this season for Utah. So I'm really interested to see that game. And I think Michigan versus Bama. Michigan looked a little bit awkward there when it was revealed they were playing Alabama. Nick Saban and company looked very, very cozy. So I'm curious to see how that thing goes. I think it'll be lower scoring. Personally, I think Bama, Texas, the complete opposite, not to just be a contrarian, but I like Bama's momentum at this point in time, and I like Texas. So it feels like it's going to be explosive, like your favorite wrestler of all time, Bill Goldberg. You know what I mean?
Who's next? The man.
You're a big wrestling fan.
I am. I've actually had the opportunity to interview guys like Roman Reigns back when he was in the Shield and Goldberg and a bunch of other guys. One final thought. I think that Washington-Texas game, because they've got NFL receivers, they've got an NFL quarterback for Washington, but can they protect Michael Penix? I think it's going to come down to that. So I got a couple questions for you, because you spend a lot of time in the WWE. You're in the TNA now. Okay, who's your favorite WWE superstar you've ever been around, been able to work with, and why?
I've ever gotten to work with. Wow. I would say it's currently Drew McIntyre, and that's no disrespect to anybody else on the roster. I had so many good interactions. Drew McIntyre is one of the nicest human beings you'll meet. Now, right now, what he's doing on TV, he's not the nicest guy. At least that's the way fans perceive it. But I had the honor and the privilege of calling his 2 WWE championship wins. He is so communicative when it comes to someone who is doing play-by-play commentary on his matches, constantly getting with us, giving us notes, giving us information, trying to help us tell his story even better than he's doing it in the ring. And on top of that, for some of the reasons that you like Goldberg, in terms of just that big dude who looks the part, Drew McIntyre looks the part and can be a franchise player. So he's one off the top of my head, and trust me, there are many.
I love his story. The chosen one, to being fired, to going, I think it was TNA Impact that he went to, right?
For a little while, yeah.
Yeah, making a name there and then coming back and winning a couple championships, a Royal Rumble, beating Lesnar. It kind of stunk that was during COVID, so he didn't have that fan reaction, but it was still awesome. One last question for you. And it's Impact Wrestling now, correct? Not TNA, is that
We're
correct?
about to be TNA Wrestling once again in January.
Okay.
We're very excited.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I hope I didn't screw that up.
All good.
What's the biggest difference between WWE and TNA through your experience?
I think WWE is much more about promos and the entertainment side of things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. TNA has the elements of great entertainment as well, but it's much more focused on the in-ring product, great wrestling. We have a lot of wrestlers that have been in WWE, have been in AEW, have been in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it's eclectic, it's diverse, every age range you can imagine, all walks of life, men and women. The inclusivity of TNA wrestling is also unmatched, I would say, in professional wrestling. So I think what we're going to do in January is going to be really special. What it is, I don't know, and I get to be a fan like everybody else. It's a huge opportunity for the company, so hopefully everybody comes along for the ride, man.
That'll be awesome. I would encourage people to check it out. And if you follow TNA Impact since its inception with Jeff Jarrett and then Dixie Carter and then Billy Corgan and all up to date now, it's been fun to watch. And the fact is, there's still a successful wrestling company that is around and growing, and there aren't many companies that can say that.
22 years later, as of 2024, we got to get Adam Carriker in a TNA ring, right in the Impact Zone. I think that'd be fun. He is Nebraska legend Adam Carriker. I am Tom Hannafin. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Big Ten Show presented by the Believe Network. And happy holidays.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
If you're not going to Memorial Stadium for a home game and don't have any travel plans for away games, there's a great place in Omaha to catch the action, the Inner Rail Food Hall. There's plenty of space. The Backstretch Bar has amazing game specials on game days. $15 Blue Moon and Bud Light pitchers, $6 margaritas, and $6 Moscow Mules. And if you're hungry, take in some of their great options from their game day pizza specials. Do football game day right in the Inner Rail Food Hall in Exarban Village in Omaha.
24/7 threat monitoring, expert tech support, streamlined communications. Allo has a solution for that. Protect your business with Allo Business. Comprehensive firewall security, Microsoft Teams voice integrated communications, cybersecurity and IT support managed by experts. From productivity to peace of mind, Allo has a solution for that. Allo means business. Protect your business by visiting allofiber.com/business.
There's only one place this holiday season to shop for the sports fan in your life and get cash back for slightly used sports items you don't need anymore. Play It Again Sports. Check out their selection of new and used items, including home fitness equipment like treadmills, exercise bikes, and ellipticals. And get your lift with free weights, benches, and racks to add to your home gym. And don't forget, if you have anything slightly used to trade in, they'll give you instant cash. Holiday shopping starts and ends at Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
This is Jeff Essing, owner of Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping and host of Fitness Fanatics. Over the years, we've helped countless people gain strength, lose fat, build confidence, and change their life. And it all starts with the Farrell's 10-Week Challenge. Now is the best time to sign up with the new year right around the corner. You can enroll for the January 10-Week Challenge for only $299. That's 10 weeks of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. Head to fxblincoln.com for more information on how to enroll. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Don't forget to stop by the Rail Yard Rink, now open in downtown Lincoln. The Rail Yard Rink is proudly presented by the Lincoln Stars and is in operation until mid-February. You're bound to make great winter memories ice skating in the heart of the capital city. Lincoln Stars players will be making appearances at the Rail Yard Rink throughout the winter months to meet and greet with fans. For a full schedule of the Rail Yard Rink, please visit lincolnstars.com and click on the Rail Yard Rink drop-down option on the Community tab.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Today's agenda includes office meetings this morning, followed by a client lunch, then back to the office for another meeting, and ending the day with a presentation at a client's office. When you are on the go, you need an office phone that goes with you. At Hamilton, our business phone systems make it easy to sync your office phone features to your cell phone for quick and seamless call handling, no matter where you work. If your current office phone can't do this, you need better. Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
So he can maybe run.
So like speed option, those things. All you want to do.
Speed. I can't see much.
It's also. Oh, it's.
Uh-oh.
Look what you did. Look what you did. Look at Bill.
Down.
Come on
Just
now.
calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be a
Word
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
Too many,
Zip. Come on.
run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to the Big Ten Show presented by the Believe Network. He is Nebraska Cornhusker legend Adam Carriker, and also former NFL defensive lineman Adam Carriker, all in the same. And I am Tom Hanfin from Believe's State of State, a Penn State football podcast. We are getting set for more bowl games this weekend, but we're also on the heels, Adam, of a lot of stuff going on with National Signing Day this past Wednesday, and of course the transfer portal. So much activity. I know a lot with your Nebraska Cornhuskers that you want to get to, but the Big Ten in regard to National Signing Day and the transfer portal, it's been a hot button issue, and especially seeing the movement on all these rosters. What are you seeing?
Hold on, real quick. I told you I was going to have you do this. I'm not cool enough, but give everyone a thumbs up, Tom.
A little thumbs up. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera.
It's not going to do it now.
We're going to do
the little. Oh,
the confetti. There's the confetti.
There we go. Tom,
that's in time for New Year's. We're ready for New Year's here on the Big Ten Show.
Awesome. That's awesome. No, when you look at the top 20 recruiting classes in the country, half of them belong to the SEC conference. Okay, and then 6 of the top 20 classes belong to Big Ten teams, and then you've got Notre Dame, who just does whatever the heck they want to do. 0 Big 12, 0 any other conference. Okay, as far as top 20 recruiting classes and the rankings and things of that nature, which I do take with a grain of salt, but you need talent acquisition. So my question for you, Tom, is simply this. Is the SEC and the Big Ten, I mean, we already kind of knew this, but are they already just taking over college football? Like the only other real Power 5 conference, I forgot. The ACC does have 3 teams. Sorry, I forgot about the ACC. No disrespect, ACC. Okay, but like the Big 12 has 0. Like there's really probably going to be 2 major conferences going forward. Is the ACC and the Big 12 even going to be able to compete at all?
And I find it very interesting, the proposition put out there by NCAA President Charlie Baker very recently about having an NIL/trust fund subdivision of FBS, and that those teams are able to compete separately. It kind of feels like we've had that for years. It's just not been official. You have what the SEC has been able to do, galvanizing whole states with their teams, and then meanwhile the Big Ten taking a different model and trying to go after specific TV markets, like dominating Los Angeles, going after the Pacific Northwest the way they have with USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. I think it's just a matter of time that those 2 conferences either start to break off entirely, melding together. I don't know. The SEC has the most power, it seems like, right now. And honestly, if you're a player being recruited right now, it's the SEC first, the Big Ten second, and it's everybody else after that. Big 12 really got hurt by Texas and Oklahoma departing. What they have left is good. It's not great, you know what I mean? And then the ACC, it's very top heavy with what Florida State and potentially Miami could be. They had a great class, but I don't know. It just feels like it's moving this way inevitably. How do you feel?
I don't even think the ACC is going to be around in 3 years. I think Florida State's gone. I think Clemson and Miami are going to want to follow. I already know that the SEC and the Big Ten are talking to Virginia and North Carolina. Sorry, Duke, I haven't heard the rumors about you. Could be wrong. But I don't even think the ACC is going to be around. I think it's going to be SEC, Big Ten. I do think, like, especially if the Big Ten could get Florida State. Now you're Piscataway to LA to Florida. If they can get them, they're a national brand. So that might help them catch up to the SEC a little bit. Okay, but I do think it's going to be Big Ten, SEC, and then that third conference, just because all these other teams that are not Oregon State and Washington State, who weren't even cool enough to go to the Big 12, everyone else is going to look for a place to go, and it's going to be the Big 12. Just by de facto matter, they want somewhere to go. And so I think it's going to be those 3 conferences, but really Big Ten, SEC. I'm already missing the Pac-12. The ACC, which used to be good at basketball, isn't even going to be around that much longer, I don't think. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be those 3 with the real power too?
I loved the model that Chip Kelly from UCLA threw out there, is saying, why do we have to change the conference alignments for every sport when football is the big moneymaker? You can move things around with one sport. Hell, you mentioned Notre Dame. They're in the ACC in basketball, independent in football. So what's the problem with doing that just across the board? I like the idea thrown out there by former Penn State offensive lineman John Urschel of having the relegation concept that exists in the English Premier League for soccer and giving incentive for every game of the year. You move up, you move down, Power 5, Group 5. Like, let's add some stakes to this freaking thing.
Yes. Now, if you're like, 3-6, and you got 3 games to go, let's say 2-7, you're not going to make a bowl game. you still have a reason to play, because if you're one of the 2 or 3 worst teams, now you get dropped down. And then the 2 or 3 best teams from a, let's say, group of 5 or whatever, get popped up. I love that soccer model. Now, real quick, Notre Dame, okay? I always make the joke they get to have their cake and eat it too, even though their icing isn't even that good anymore. Okay, that's how I like to phrase it. Should they have to join a freaking conference? Also, I think they're going to have to, because all these conferences are going to make so much money, they're going to end up being on the outside looking in. But what say you?
I envy Notre Dame because they get to do whatever they want. They get the benefit of the doubt. They get put in the top 10 because of brand notoriety seemingly every year. Everybody was freaking out about Sam Hartman being the starting quarterback and what they did against Navy over in Ireland to start off the season. And then we found out within a few weeks that they were pretenders and not contenders. I envy them because they get to be independent and they can do whatever they want. They can make their schedule very diverse. I think that's something that's missing because we get so bogged down in, oh, you only played your conference, and Michigan's strength of schedule, they played a weak non-con and a weak conference schedule. It's like, great, let's mix it up. Play teams from the Mountain West, play teams from the SEC. That's the benefit Notre Dame has. I still don't have to like Notre Dame, and that's, those two things can exist at the same time.
Thumbs up on that one.
Thumbs up on that one. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the Big Ten Show. We are going to be joined here next by Fox Sports' Rob Stone to get his thoughts on what in the world is going on with the Michigan Wolverines, the Ohio State Buckeyes, sorry to all the rest of the Big Ten fans out there, but also what this means for the remainder of the Big Ten going into 2024. And we're all big wrestling fans. We might talk a little wrestling. That's next on the Big Ten Show. Joining us now on the Big Ten Show from Fox Sports, he is Rob Stone. Rob, first of all, happy holidays and happy New Year. How are things on your side of the country right now?
Do you want the honest assessment?
I want the honest.
Always.
So, all right. Well, the honest assessment is I have 4 teenagers. All of them are in high school, and all of them are going through finals this week. So I had to get, I can't even talk to my humans. I have to get my phone out and text them like, hey, I'm doing a interview today at 8 a.m. Pacific. Can you please be respectful and not play music, not yell, not scream about laundry that was or wasn't done, worry about a certain final, a carpool, a ride. So somewhere just over there and up there is all kinds of chaos brewing. But right here is good. We just get to talk Big Ten. It's a happy place.
It's a very happy place.
I love a couple of things. I love that you called them your humans, first of all. Okay. Second of all, I have 6 kids. All right. Now, only one's
it's not teenager. A competition, Adam.
No. Oh, well, if there's any more coming, there's going to be a doctor getting an unhappy visit from me. There's not a competition I'm trying to win. I've only got 1 teenager, but at a certain point in my life, in the near future, I'm going to have a senior, a junior, a freshman, 2 7th graders, and a 5th grader. So I'm not where you're at, but I know what's coming my way, my friend. So I kind of sort of get it.
It's I'll prepare you the best I can, but you're still going to get a sledgehammer to the back of the head and have no idea what's coming.
Well, Rob, as you mentioned, we're here to talk about all things Big Ten football. There's so much happening with the bowl season, of course, National Signing Day this past week, the transfer portal's opening, the coaching carousel. It's just outrageous. But yourself and the rest of the Fox Big Noon Kickoff team had so many opportunities this year to cover, arguably, I don't even know if it's arguable, the biggest story in college football is what's going on with the Michigan Wolverines. There were some more allegations that came out this past week, level 2 infractions to a level 1 infraction dating back to freaking COVID. It just continues. So is this a witch hunt or is this warranted by the NCAA?
Well, I don't know. I don't have the facts in front of me, but I have always been a guy, as my dog is chiming in over there. What's that, Callie? You're not a Michigan fan. All right, well, you keep your bias over there. For me, I've always been a where there's smoke, there's fire type guy. So this is calmness in my house.
This is honesty.
So I would be worried if I was a Michigan fan and a Michigan supporter that the NCAA sharks kind of keep smelling blood and keep circling around. And then as you guys know, there's so many different levels of infractions and what really matters and what doesn't. But I forget what the exact quote was out there, but it was basically like, this wasn't for a cheeseburger, right? Something like that. So the news that came out yesterday is not as troubling as what may still lurk out there in regards to, what exactly happened and why Jim Harbaugh ultimately accepted that 3-game suspension this year. It's crazy. It's crazy to think, and even if you talk to Michigan hardcore, Maize and Blue fans, that their head coach missed 6 games this season, a season that very well could go down as one of the greatest on the field football seasons ever in the illustrious history of Michigan football. Yet their head coach missed 6 games for 2 separate incidents, if you will. So if I was Michigan, I'd be worried about it, about what might be coming down the road. I don't know when that road is going to happen. Obviously, nobody does, because Jim Harbaugh could be in a plane and get a suspension, right? That's the way it happened when they flew to Penn State. But I hope that doesn't take away from what they've been able to do on the field, because this collection of young men, these student athletes, have really put together an amazing season that Michigan faithful should be extremely proud of. And, we were questioning how good they were this season, because the front part of their schedule was, we'll use their term, manageable, right? Yeah, it was manageable. And then business picked up, but they took care of their business. And they were able to use, I feel, that chip on their shoulder to kind of motivate them through this sludginess that was out there. Now that they've had this long break, I don't know if there's going to be that carryover effect, right? Like when it's week to week and you guys are in the fight of it, and Harbaugh's taking these shots and the program's taking these shots, it's easy, I think, to rally the troops and find that extra level when you're at Penn State or you're at Maryland or you're taking on Ohio State or the Big Ten championship game. I'm curious what this layoff has done for them. I think, if anything, if I was Michigan, I probably want to just keep playing, right? Because everything that they had was going so well. And I like them. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't think that they're going to get by Alabama. I think they would have loved to have had Florida State instead of Alabama, but I actually believe in this Michigan team, and I think they're going to get themselves to that championship game this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about basically the bookend suspensions, the beginning of the year, the end of the year, what this season could mean for Michigan fans if they do go on to win it all. Could be an all-time season. But I'm going to ask, I'm not going to get to any of that just yet. I'm going to ask, well, first of all, you took care of your humans, but not quite your dogs. But that's what I love about it. It's raw, ladies and gentlemen. We're having fun. But here's my question. It's not about the upcoming playoff game just yet. I want to ask about that next. But Jim Harbaugh, let's say, okay, a bunch of these sanctions come down, a bunch of these things come down on the university. It's going to take time. We know that, but maybe he sees the writing on the wall, so to speak. Do you think he's going to be Michigan's head coach next year or 2 years from now? Or is it much easier to go to the NFL where he knows he can find a very, very good job?
Right. And obviously he's been courted by the NFL in the past, and there's going to be these openings, and he's had success at the NFL, right? I think that's the big thing, that these NFL owners will look and say, oh, this guy has done it. I'm willing to overlook maybe some of these college infractions, because guess what? That stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. Yes, there's NFL infractions and rules and whatnot. If you would ask me this question, and if you would ask the Big Noon Kickoff guys this question, say 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, I think they all would have said across the board, he's gone. He doesn't need this. He's got opportunities. If you look at his timeline through his coaching career, he kind of, I wouldn't say he wears out his welcome. It kind of expires, and it needs to go on to the next, and it goes on to the next. And I think that's just kind of the human being that he is, or how he coaches, or how he handles things. And I know there's, issues he had in San Francisco with, those in the front office, but it always feels like there's kind of this timeline with Harbaugh where it's X years and it's time to go on to the next, the next years, and it's time to go on to the next. And we're clearly at that X year window, if you ask me, where it might be time for that new challenge. But there's part of me that just knows and hears and feels his passion for his university. This one is a little bit different. It's not leaving Stanford or leaving San Diego. This is his school that he is essentially kind of resurrected. Remember, just 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, we were saying, he's out because he's out. Not because he has other opportunity. He's out because he's not getting it done at Michigan. And now he's got them to this elite level year after year after year. And I think he's more of a collegiate guy, if you ask me, where he's wearing the cleats and he's got the gloves in the back pocket to catch some warm-ups. I mean, the whole thing just reeks of college and building young men. And we all know how tricky it is to go from college to NFL. It's 2 completely different jobs. I feel more than ever, actually, that I think he's going to stay. I think he feels like this is home and this is what I want to do. But, and it's a big but, the winds that are swirling around him, I don't know if he could take another suspension and still be looked at as honorably as a lot of people try to view him at Michigan. So that would be the tough one. I mean, there's definitely, Adam, that opening out there of, let me get out before I'm swept out, and let me take a great cushy job, and he'll have his pick of NFL openings at a lot of these places if he wants it. I don't think Chicago's one of them. I just think his back history with the people that are in play there in Chicago doesn't quite fit. But I think there's some other opportunities out there that are going to be really hard to turn around. But in the end, I think he's a Michigan guy through and through and stays in Ann Arbor.
One of the reasons they have so much momentum, obviously 3 straight wins against Ohio State. And just a few weeks ago with the transfer portal opening up, Rob, it seemed like there might be a mass exodus underneath Ryan Day there in Columbus. And now they go into National Signing Day and they sign a hell of a recruiting class. So it seems like Ohio State is reloading again for next season. Starting quarterback is a question. In terms of Ohio State's place in
a question. You're calling it just a question. I think it's the biggest question in college football out there right now.
I agree with you.
I don't know what they're going to do. McCord leaving for Syracuse, listen, I spent 4 years of my life in upstate New York, but let's be honest, there's Ohio State and then there's Syracuse, and you can't see my hand anymore. Right. I mean, that is a big drop off. I never felt like Ohio State was enamored with McCord long term. I think they were always kind of hoping that there would be a better fit for who they are going forward. And to McCord's credit, he fought through it. That late interception in Ann Arbor, I think, kind of sealed his fate. But I think he could have looked back on that winning drive at Notre Dame and saying, wait a second, this guy, maybe he does have it. But I think he was just too much of a pocket type passer, didn't have enough legs to get him out, where they always just wanted somebody else. Which will be fascinating to me who that somebody else is going to be, because they got to figure that out ASAP, because they have 2 NFL-ready receivers that haven't yet really said what they're doing, which to me is remarkable. And who knows, it could happen while we're having this discussion right now with Ibuka and Harrison. But you can also hear the relief in Ryan Day, when he got the number 1 overall wide receiver. I think that there is this building pressure. In Columbus, there's always pressure, having lost 3 straight to Michigan, trying to figure out who your quarterback is after you're losing people who committed to you and then eat for Georgia and then leave Georgia. It's a little sloppier, and I thought it would have been resolved weeks ago. And yet we're still sitting here saying, who really is the Ohio State quarterback of the future? And that's a big question for a lot of elite level wide receivers out there.
You talk about Ryan Day's relief. You couldn't just hear it. You could see it. You could feel it in his reaction. Like, oh my gosh, we just got the number 1 recruit. And I have not seen his full highlight tape, but I'll tell you, the few plays I saw, that guy's fast. And I called my wife over. I'm like, Angie, and I stopped the tape and I said, look where he's at. Look where everyone else is. There's 3 guys within 2 feet of him. I let the tape go. By the time he was in the end zone, he was 12 to 13 yards ahead of them. I have not seen that type of separation speed since Reggie Bush, maybe Ted Ginn Jr. Those are the only 2 guys that I can think of. So he should be excited. But here's my question. Okay, because we got to ask you about the college football playoff game between Michigan, between Bama. You make a great point with the layoff, the time off. Maybe this revitalizes Michigan and gets them amped up again, because they were fired up for Penn State. Obviously easy to get fired up for Ohio State. I did not like the reaction that they gave when they saw they were playing Bama. That's the only thing that gives me cause to pause. I'm still personally picking Michigan, but Alabama's played not a manageable schedule, so we call it, much tougher. I think number 1 in the country, SOS, and maybe the most improved player in the country at their quarterback position. Who you got winning that game?
I got Michigan. I mentioned that just a smidge earlier. I do like them because they kind of have this destiny type vibe to them, and also being a guy who's been in sports for a long time, I remember when Michael Jordan, first kind of splashed onto the scene, and it was, oh my gosh, Chicago Bulls, look at them, they're going to be fantastic. But it took them and him a few years to figure out, to kind of get over that hump, whether it was the Celtics or the Bad Boys or whatever. I feel like Michigan's kind of that team right now, where they've been so close, they haven't been able to get over the bump. I feel like now they have that locker room, that veteran locker room presence. They have a locker room which manages the program right now. Like, I don't think Harbaugh has to do that much. And this is not a knock on Jim Harbaugh. If anything, it's a compliment on him and his staff that they have created a culture there inside that locker room that can handle anything, can handle that program. And they have been dealt some odd cards this year. I just like the way that that locker room has handled their business. And I think they continue it during this pause and are able to kind of turn that conversation about Alabama. You're right. The nonverbals, the visuals out there of the reaction to finding out that it wasn't Florida State, that it was Alabama that they would meet in the Rose Bowl instead, gave me a bad vibe. And I guarantee you the leadership on that team saw it and felt it and said, get your back in that locker room right now, close that door, and we're going to straighten that out, and we're going to straighten it out on the field right now. I would not be worried about Michigan. If anything, I think Michigan prospers with this underdog type role, which is crazy to say for the number 1 seed in the college football playoffs. But I think Michigan is a bit of an underdog to a lot of people, to Vegas included, and they'll take that. I always love being an underdog. That's when teams, I think, perform their best. There's a little less pressure on them. Are you kidding me? We're number 1 and you're not going to give us the respect. I think a lot of those things are going to come into play. And I really like Michigan, and I like Michigan early to come after Alabama and be creative, and hopefully, if you're a Michigan fan, get that run game going from the jump to let McCarthy and company be a little bit more comfortable in their game plan.
We'll see if the Wolverines wind up as the national champions. Rob, you're a champion. You're a former WWE 24/7 champion. We appreciate your time. We know you got a lot going on.
What do you mean?
He doesn't remember it at all, folks.
What is
Not
that?
at all. Remember it at all. Not
I
at
wake
all.
up every morning and I look at this picture right there. Look at that belt around my slim waist.
I'm sorry that Rudy's in that picture, but you look fantastic.
Honestly, this is one of the favorite pictures I have in my home. It was such a stupid, fantastic moment, and I'm so glad that WWE and Fox Sports, frankly, allowed me to have it. R-Truth. I still own you, R-Truth. Elias came in and rolled me up out of nowhere. Like, I literally knew what was happening, but I never saw Elias come by and roll me up. And he almost, like, if you watch the tape, my head just missed hitting our huge video scoreboard that was right there, because the roll up happened so fast. And it happened so fast, he ripped the skin off my elbow that was on our artificial turf. But it was such a ridiculous highlight. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a kid, crying about the Strongbow brothers getting jobbed by Suji and Mr. Suji, Mr. Saito. I remember getting so upset about them, and the Moondogs were robbed again, and cheering on Bob Backlund. And good God, the Claw is coming your way from Blackjack Mulligan, and now there's a Von Erich movie that's coming out this holiday season. I cannot wait to see it. Yeah, so I'm a bit of a, I guess I'm not so closeted anymore, but I'm a bit of a wrestling nerd. I watch it every week. Sometimes I zip through it, but whenever it's in town or whenever I get a chance to go see it live, and Tom, you know this, there is something different about the live production of professional wrestling at WWE. It is nonstop. It is 3 hours if it's a Monday of in the arena nonstop. Your eye. It's like, you know what it is? It's like you're at the U2 Sphere concert. I don't know if you guys have been there yet or seen it. I was lucky enough to go, but it's not like your eyes are just constantly hearing what's going on over there. My God, what's coming out of the building? And wait, there's somebody's running down the stairs, and during commercial breaks, there's still stuff. It is an amazing, amazing production.
It's fascinating. Try doing play-by-play for it. It's really interesting. With that being said, go be with your humans. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being on the Big Ten
Happy
Show.
to, guys. Thanks for having me. And maybe a little bit later we'll talk some college hoops. It's up and running, baby. It's up and running.
That'd be awesome.
Let's do it.
Love it.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rob.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.